Well, hello there everyone, it's Snoo here. Welcome to the big one. This is it, 500 cemetery maps, the final conclusion video. I hope you've all enjoyed this process. This has been quite a test, definitely the biggest test I've ever ran, and I decided I'd go ahead and up the production value a little bit here, give you guys some good eye candy here, getting all the highlights of all the major drops that I got in 500 maps. Every single drop that you see in this highlight portion of the video will be worth it definitively more than one exalt, including Brother Stashes. That was the primary target farm of this farm, Brother Stashes. I know that surprised a lot of people. I got some pushback, honestly, when I was going around telling people I was farming cemetery for Brother Stashes. A lot of folks have it in their mind that Divination card, as rare as the Brother Stash, is not something you can target farm, but rather just something that you're just lucky if it drops, and you might run that map because it can drop on that map. I beg to differ, and I've set out to make this video in part to prove a point on that. And so I want to share all this information that I got on here. There were quite a few things I discovered. I've been sort of essentially, for lack of a better word, perfecting this strategy all season long. I've ran thousands of cemetery maps. I've ran a few different other maps, but I decided this season to land on the cemetery map. There's a very good reason for that, and I'm going to outline, well, in major part, why I chose this strategy. I'm going to talk about the cemetery map. It's my favorite farm this season, why that is. I'm going to talk about the results, obviously, the currency per hour, a very important piece of information. People always want to know how many Brother Stashes I got to drop in total. You'll see the counter keep going up here in the background, but I will go ahead and spoil the number here fairly early on in the video, in case you weren't already aware. Now, I did actually make 5 separate parsed out videos, or 100 map sessions back to back to back to back to back. So you may already know that number if you just go ahead and look in my videos. But for those of you who are just kind of stumbling on this video, or just want to see kind of the grand summation of all that information, this is the video for you. We are going to also talk about super briefly my build that did contribute to my success in the currency per hour, what build I'm running, the sort of the caliber of currency and invested into the build definitely had some factors there. The Atlas passives, how I landed on the exact decisions I made there. Now, I'm not going to go into major detail about my POB. I'm not going to drag you down and show you my POB, but it will be linked in the description below. You can check that out if you want. Same story for the Atlas passives. If you want to copy my Atlas tree and try this build for yourself before the season comes to a close, feel free to do that. The cemetery will hopefully, maybe, be on the map pool in 3.18. It will certainly return at some point, if not. So this video should be valuable at some point in the future, further along in seasons as we go, so long as Brother Stash remains relevant on the cemetery. We'll also talk about consumables, which Sextants I ran, my decisions there, which Scarabs I put on, and just kind of major discoveries I made along the way. There was a couple of peculiar golden nuggets of information I think you're going to want to stick around for. Something that will be highly relatable to some of you guys, and things you perhaps didn't know because you haven't done an immense amount of testing on this map in particular. My final thoughts after that, kind of moving forward, what I plan to do with everything I've learned so far, moving into 3.18 or so. So again, we have a new season coming out. We're going to be soon hereafter making a transition from talking about 3.17 to more videos focused on 3.18. I gotta definitely prepare myself for that, but that's for another time. For this video, definitely gonna dig into a little more into the past here. Outlines. All right, so let's talk about cemetery. Briefly discuss the favorite farms of this season. For a lot of people, it was Expedition. That was a big one. A lot of people really like Expedition. They like Gwenin, gambling, haggling, and it definitely appears to be pretty good. As far as a mapping strategy, it's fairly fast, but it does slow you down. It does require you to actually stop what you're doing in the map, something I don't really like, to be honest. I like to go faster, and I feel like when it comes to becoming more efficient, speed is the name of the game there. And so that's just, and it also requires you to become intimately familiar with the Expedition NPCs, how all that system works, which is not a terrible thing. It's just something I haven't really got around to doing, so it was not my cup of tea this season. I did, however, consequently continue doing Arch Nemesis with a Temporal Bubble recipe into Treant Horde, Mirror Image, and Rejuvenation. I got a huge number of reroll currencies. It was actually quite lucrative, and I think worthy enough of mentioning that I do it. It's still something a lot of people aren't doing, the Arch Nemesis. If you can get quite efficient at it, even with this lackluster UI, you can still do it. But I think Arch Nemesis is probably going away, so we don't have to really focus on that terribly much. Let's see. A lot of people ran sort of just pure boss killing, focusing on invitation farming, things like that. City Square was for expedition or killing the boss really quickly. That forest map that I always forget the name of, with the boss right in the middle, you can just zone in, kill the boss in less than like 15 seconds in the middle of the map. Those kinds of farms were good too. Now, I enjoy those kind of maps. You know, they're fairly open, wide open, and you can get in and out. You can clear the whole map really quickly or whatever. There's a huge disadvantage to those maps though. They do not have a S tier or even A tier divination card. That's a problem. High value divination cards are free money, and they're significant. And I think for anyone who's doing a quick mapping strategy, if you don't at least in part orient it around a divination card that you're farming, I honestly find that to be somewhat of a mistake, or at least a deliberate choice to forego some extra currency that you could be making to decide not to run that map. Now, that was not the case in seasons past when Nemesis 3, Nemesis 4 outshined any amount of divination card farming you could possibly do. But now things have changed. The game is far more balanced overall. And in fact, if anything, it's a little bit too favorable towards divination card farming, in my opinion. So that's why I set out to do a divination card farm. Now, a lot of people are familiar with tower farming. I think it's probably one of the most popular divination card farming maps in the game. The tower for the nurse card, we've got burial chambers for the doctor card. People have already exhausted the drop rates on those. Everybody knows just about everything you can know about farming those maps. Cemetery is not, however, not so popular, well known, and I'm shining a little bit more light on that. Promenade, I gotta mention Promenade because it's technically probably the best divination card map in the game right now, with its addition of the patient card combined with Dying Anguish located on the map. It's also a stellar delirium mirror farming map. It's a very good map, and I ran it and I tried it and I tested a little bit. It was my second choice. If the whole cemetery farming thing didn't exist, I would have definitely spent most of this league in the Promenade. And I even had a video where I made 19x an hour, mega juicing that with farming 6 links and everything. You can check out that a little bit back on the channel. So that is why I chose the Cemetery, because it has an S tier divination card. It is super fast, convenient, small, everything crammed in tight. I don't. Some people have talked about how certain mechanics disappear on them if the map's too tight, maybe on City Square. I didn't really experience much of that on Cemetery. Everything was there. It was just really nice, easy, convenient. I was able to get in and out of the map in 2 or 3 minutes flat with a reasonably high chance of finding a brother stash every single time I walked in. Well, I mean, you can see that by how many dropped. Now, this is out of 500 maps, but what were the results? Well, I projected that I would get 30 brother stashes in 500 maps, or 6 per 100 maps. That was my guess after having farmed this card up to about 100, 200 times before this test. I was not woefully mistaken, but I did overshoot a little bit, and apparently the drop rate is a little closer to 5 in 100. I got 24 brother stashes in 500 maps, and I'm satisfied with that amount. I'm not terribly upset with it. I think it's a decent showing, a little bit under what I hoped for, but it still definitely constitutes the idea that you can indeed target farm this card. And it made me a lot of currency. I farmed a lot of currency. I made a lot of money this league, and I have a mirror tier character, as you can see, or maybe if you hadn't guessed it yet so far, that is a mirror tiered character. I will talk about it briefly in a second here. Currency per hour I made on this video between the 500 runs was about 17x an hour, so actually a little less than the Promenade. The Promenade farm was definitely more stressful, more challenging. It was a good farm, but this is super relaxing. I mean, I'm barely putting in any effort at all here in this one, and it's also much easier to get the materials together. I don't have to buy Delirium Sextants, for example, or some other expensive Sextants. This is clocked in around like 35 to 45 chaos per map. I mean, it's super cheap, easy to get the stuff together and to run the map. You can do a ton of maps quickly. I really, really liked it. So that concludes, why I chose this map. And basically the results are good, very good. A lot of people were boasting making 5 to 10x an hour through a lot of the league. I've been making 10 to 20x an hour through most of the league. Especially 15 to 20 here on the back end of things. So I think the results speak for themselves, honestly. Now, I do have a very fast character, but earlier on, when I was making around 10 to 15x an hour, I only had like a 50x budget, and I was running Caustic Arrow, which it's not even meta, it doesn't do a ton of damage. I was leveraging the Gloom Shrine and how powerful that is. With the shrines and Gull and spending only 2 or 3 minutes in the map, getting full usage out of it, that was one of my big secrets early on to help catapult me into stardom, so to speak. I did make a switch to Tornado Shot. I mirrored a bow, a quiver. You can see the POB below. I am running a surprisingly high number of uniques, though. I have a unique setup. I'm running a Raider instead of a Deadeye. I'm running Magic Find, and I'm running the Gull on it. I'm the only person I know that is running that particular setup, but I am definitely dancing around the meta there by running Tornado Shot, physical to cold conversion with Headhunter scaling. It's terrific, of course. Let's see here. Oh, I'm also running item rarity support, so I'm nerfing my own damage by like 25% by running a quasi 5-link for my bow, but it's worth it. As you can see, I kill plenty fast enough. Not a big deal. So yeah, Atlas passives, let's get into that. Full spec into Shrines, full spec into Strongbox. Strongbox was a big one I got here. You would have noticed earlier on in this video, I got 2 Brother Stashes out of 1 Strongbox, which is just a regular Strongbox. That does happen occasionally. It's happened to me maybe 10 times this season so far. I got double Exalted Orbs, which in this test run I did not highlight those because they're not a major drop, but that does happen as well. 500% increased quantity Sextant also synergizes terrifically with Strongbox. I'm a huge fan of Strongbox. I love it. You don't have to run it, but I honestly think it's the best. I really do. At least marginally the best out there. The best, if I just had to look at each individual mechanic exclusively, I think Strongbox has the highest potential there this season in particular. In past seasons maybe not so much, but this season they buffed it a lot. So there we got Shrines, we got Strongbox, we got Beyond. Beyond is free juice. It doesn't cost you anything really, no time anyway. Putting Beyond on the Atlas with Curic's crafting bench as well. Let's see, I ran Harbinger. Now Harbinger was the biggest reason I ran Harbinger is because it's super easy. Oh, there we go. There's the double. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it had already dropped. So there you go. There you see double Brother Stash there from a generic Strongbox. I ran Harbinger, and they're really fast. They're not instant, but it's really fast, quick, and efficient. Harbingers don't make a huge amount of currency this season, exclusively speaking. Path of Math proved that, actually, in his major test that he did this season. But it's definitely okay, and the biggest thing about it is it helps me sustain Headhunter buffs. It keeps the momentum going. It doesn't drop very many Brother Stashes or much along those lines, but you know, you got to put something else in there, and it seems to be kind of the best choice there. I also ran Breach because I had to sacrifice a grand total of 3 passive points to get Flash Breach. Now, I did not even farm Chayula Breaches or anything. It was not about that. A decent number of my Brother Stashes came from Breach monsters. I think that one right there you saw even on there came from Breach monsters, so that was the big deal there. Also, Breach spawns tons of Beyond monsters as well. So just terrific there. Now, again, you can check out the description below if you want to see that. Also, I should mention that I took the entire quantity wheel. I took all of the quantity and rarity in the middle. I took all of the increased effect modifiers on non-unique maps along the top. And I ran almost exclusively 8 modded corrupted maps that had on average 40% pack size. That's probably one of my biggest secrets. I think a lot of people don't run maps like that. Maybe they're too hard, maybe it's too inconvenient. We have a brand new Sextant that makes it super easy and convenient to get that. Really cuts down the time it takes to prepare all the materials, because one of the Sextants I ran was the 8 modded corrupted maps drop exclusively on there. Got self-sustained tons of cemetery maps that way. When you're farming divination cards, quantity is the only thing that really matters. Well, pack size matters as well. Rarity doesn't matter there. So I did get a lot of uniques, but they're not showcased a whole lot on here, except for a couple of unnatural instincts. Quite a few uniques dropped, obviously, in the half exalt to full exalt range. But yeah, so let's talk. Let's conclude the Sextants here. I got Gloom Shrine, obviously. I ran elevated for that additional shrine. You didn't have to, but I was able to get my hands on a lot of those Sextants for surprisingly cheap because people undervaluing it, I guess. I ran elevated Strongbox, Corrupt, and Rare. That's plus 3 Strongboxes on the map. Now I'm running unelevated because it's just cheaper and easier to sustain there. I also ran, let's see here, I ran Hunted Traitors when I didn't have to run the 8 modded Corrupted maps. So Hunted Traitors was my sort of filler Sextant there. And I also ran the 500% increased effect, or increased quantity of items dropped from the Strongbox monsters. Just in case you're wondering, a grand total of 8 brother stashes out of 24 came from Strongbox monsters. I was able to confirm that, almost 100% surety there. Incidentally, another big discovery, which I'm going to talk about some of the discoveries now. Another big discovery is Delhi. So at a certain point I was realizing a lot of the brother stashes were dropping in Delhi maps from Delhi monsters, or maybe, you know, in some way associated with Delirium. I went ahead and did the math, and it looks like I could have gotten theoretically I could have gotten an extra 44 based on how infrequently Delirium spawns and how frequently brother stash dropped in Delirium maps. I could have gotten, theoretically, 40 additional brother stashes in 500 maps, but even that would have still not nearly made up for the cost of the Delirium Sextant and the inconvenience of having to buy that Sextant. So I decided that it's probably not worth doing. Again, this strategy is focused on keeping things relatively cheap, super fast, run in and out of the map, and just an almost quantity over quality kind of mentality going about it. Let's see. Here's the big golden nugget. So here's what the information you've been waiting for. There is another divination card, high-value divination card, that drops in any map this season. It's called the Dragon's Heart. You might have even seen it a little bit here on this highlight video. How often does it drop? Well, it drops apparently almost exactly as often as Brother Stash. I got 21 of them. 24 Brother Stashes, 21 Dragon's Heart. I've always felt like I've gotten either the same amount or slightly more brother stashes than Dragon Heart, so the drop rate's definitely comparable. So here's what it means to you. You've seen that card drop, no doubt, when you're mapping. How often do you see it drop? Are you using any Divination Scarabs? If you're not using Divination Scarabs, then what that basically means is every time you've seen that card drop, that is the equivalent of 2 brother stashes dropping for me. That's what that means when I'm doing maps. So if you are using polished Divination Scarabs, you're target farming something, like if you're on Promenade and you see a Dragon's Heart drop, that's like an actual brother stash dropping for me. That's about how often the brother stash drops, and so that's some key information for you that should be relatable to you, and it should be a big takeaway for you moving forward, and to help you understand a little better about the drop rate on there. So that's it. That's all I really got to say here. Tight loot filter, Chaos Orbs and above. Highly recommend you guys give this strategy a try if you haven't. Take it into next week or into the next league. Go ahead and ask any questions down below if you have any. If not, I really appreciate you checking out the video, and I hope you enjoyed this 500 map testing session. A lot of you were communicating with me on the live streams and Twitch. You can see my Twitch down in the description below if you want to see that. So it's been fun seeing this channel grow. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video because there's a lot more videos coming your way. See ya.